Russell Wilson threw for a career-high 5 TD passes. Older Jermaine Kearse and Doug Baldwin and the Seahawks held on for a 39-30 win over the Steelers in a huge victory that put Seattle back in the playoff picture. However, the Seahawks did lose Jimmy Graham for the season. He'll have surgery on his patellar tendon. Stephen A., were you encouraged or discouraged by what you saw from the Hawks?
I was sort of discouraged, even though the Seahawks won the football game. I was sort of discouraged simply because even though the Steelers' offense is prolific, and we all know that, is the Legion of Boom is supposed to be the Legion of Boom, and they're not supposed to look ordinary. Now, they did have 4 interceptions on the day. They did have a couple of key turnovers that worked to their advantage. Their offense stepped up, particularly when they were up 32-30 after Mike Tomlin decided not to go for a 4th and goal and instead elected to kick the field goal. Then they connected, with Wilson connected with Doug Baldwin for the 80-yard touchdown pass with about 2:01 left. That basically sealed the deal, which was very unfortunate. But up until that moment in time, I thought that the Seahawks defense looked relatively ordinary. It's amazing to me because they still have the speed, they have the tackling ability, they're ferocious, they're vicious, and in the second half, they really amped up the pressure. Game, I'm still going to tell you that I walked away feeling a bit less confident than them as opposed to more confident. Their offense has elevated in terms of the priority list, whereas the defense is dissipated to some degree. They're still talented, gifted, good, and all of that, but something is missing. I don't know if it's from the cornerback slot, Kerry Williams. I don't know whether it's him and he's not Byron Maxwell for that system, even though I believe he's better than Byron Maxwell. I don't know what it is. If they're not getting to the quarterback enough, it just seems to me like something's missing. But the Steelers help, too. In the first quarter, you're going to fake a field goal attempt. I think that instead of this guy, Jordan Perry, being out there who usually gets the ball snapped to him for the field goal kicker to kick the football, bringing in Landry Jones, I think somebody was going to notice that. And Seattle picked up on it and they stopped it. And then when you that had something to do with you electing not to be risque. I don't know what Mike Tomlin was, what the thought process was at that particular moment in time, but it just didn't end up to the Steelers' benefit. I think that had a lot to do with why they lost this game, but we both predicted that they would lose this game to Seattle. We thought Seattle would find a way to win, and that's exactly what they did. But I expected the defense to be a bit more stout, and that's not what I'm seeing right now from the Seahawks, from the Legion of Boom.
By the way, on Mike Tomlin, I had no issue with his choice to go ahead and kick the field goal, maybe because Ben was concussed and we didn't know it, but I still thought it was the percentage play. It just didn't work out. What are you thinking? It's just such a bad idea, so poorly executed by Landry Jones, who's got to be smarter than that. And then you don't see Jeremy Lane, who just it's like, thank you very much, and I'm going to run it the other way a long ways. And it really changed the game because it was 3-0 Pittsburgh at that point. You could have at least kicked the field goal. I don't know. Why do you need to trick Seattle? Because Seattle has not been Seattle. So now to your point about the team that you picked to win the Super Bowl. I'm with you. It's so weird watching them because every few plays, Cam Chancellor will make a play where I'll say, wow, that's like Legion of Boom. That's like old days great. That's scary great. Then every 5th or 6th play, Richard Sherman will make a play and I'll say, wow, that's like great old days Richard Sherman. Wow, that looks good. And then at the end of the game, I look at the totals. Ben Roethlisberger threw for 456 yards. Now, he's great at what he does, and he's got an aerial circus of receivers. We get that. But 456 is a lot to throw for on that defense in that stadium. with that loud of a crowd. And when I look at 5 of 11 on 3rd down, it felt like Ben could just kind of stand back there and kind of do what he, I think I'll throw this one, I think I'll throw it over there. I think I'll throw it to, oh, he's open, I'll throw it over there. And he threw one ball to Antonio that Richard Sherman did pick off as his first interception of the year. And I thought Richard Sherman got away with a blatant downfield shot. Pop fly to Richard Sherman with nobody around him, and he caught it and ran it back a good ways. So that was a key play early in the 4th quarter of that game. So I'm not sold either. And I look down their schedule. They're back in wild card business because they now inhabit the 2nd wild card slot to Green Bay at 7-4, now Seattle at 6-5. But I look down your schedule here. They go to Minnesota next Sunday. No cakewalk. Then they finish at Arizona, and in between, they've got the St. Louis Rams, who have been a division nemesis of both Arizona and Seattle already this year. So I don't think this is, you know, you're not out of these woods yet up in the Pacific Northwest. So I didn't like what I saw either. I was kind of shocked by the outcome, even though we both picked Seattle to win. It didn't feel, well, you know, Russell Wilson was great, but the defense not so much.
Let's also keep in mind, Skip, that they gave up 201 receiving yards to a guy by the name of Marcus Wheaton, who can ball, no question about that. But when did we ever think we'd see the day where the Legion of Boom gave up 200 yards receiving to any wide receiver? I mean, that was shocking in and of itself. And, you know, also let's keep in mind, Jimmy Graham is out. He got himself injured, and so that even though I believe this kid, Wilson is better in their system at the tight end spot than Graham, I think that might end up working to their benefit, to be quite honest with you. But I just think that right now, just looking at them, I'm not pleased with what I'm seeing from Seattle's defense, and I'm thinking that they're going to have to rely more and more. And by the way, we make so much noise, negatively speaking, about Russell Wilson. This is a top 10 quarterback in the league, Skip. This kid can play.
I'm with you.
He's skilled. You know, there's so much debating about him. We really, really need to stop. The kid is gifted, and he finds a way to extend plays, make plays, and he does everything that he's supposed to do for that offense and then some. I'll give credit where credit is due, and you know how suspect I am about the Steelers secondary.
I do.
They can't defend a tight end to save their life, and the receivers can get theirs too. Their passing attack is highly suspect, which is why I walked into this game with reservations about the Steelers to begin with.
Yeah, I got you. You know, just when Russell Wilson was starting to figure out Jimmy Graham, I still think it's a big loss because Jimmy Graham's just a difference maker, and all the other receivers to me are just guys. I'm sorry, they're all okay, but they're just guys. This guy can really change a game, and they were starting to figure out how to change games with him, and now he's gone.
Yep. So as Skip mentioned, if the season ended today, Seattle owns the tiebreaker and they would be in the wild card. They knocked Atlanta out of the playoffs. We're going to discuss the Falcons and their woes later on. What the heck happened? Moving on, Captain Kirk leads Washington to the top of the NFC East after beating the Giants. But how does he feel about it?
I liked it. You got to like that, right? If you're a Redskins fan. The guys liked it, and the team, coaches liked it, I liked it. So, yes.